Welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 250,000 subscribers. So look, we're getting really close thanks to you. So if you like what you hear, hit the subscribe button. But most importantly, watch till the end because the reactions are extremely important. So I want to talk today about the discussion of the number of billionaires that are receiving appointments in Trump's cabinet and in his administration, and how the MAGA supporters and those representing them are not even from the same universe. So first, I want to show you some clips. And here's a clip of Representative Derek Van Orden discussing, as an example, John Phelan, someone who I happen to know for over 20 years, who's going to be Secretary of the Navy. Play that clip.
I wanted to start there. First, thank you so much for joining us. Your thoughts on the president-elect's recently announced pick for Secretary of the Navy, John Phelan. He's not someone who has military experience or any significant public connection to the Navy or the Pentagon. He's someone who founded a private investment company. He was a large donor to Trump's reelection campaign, we should note. Do you think Phelan has the right qualifications to be Secretary of the Navy?
Well, first of all, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I'm also on the House Agriculture Committee, so when you're eating your Thanksgiving feast tomorrow, make sure you thank a farmer. You know what? I'm the longest serving enlisted member of the United States military to ever be elected to Congress in the history of our nation. I have multiple combat tours as a United States Navy SEAL, and I'm completely comfortable with our incoming SecNav. The reason being is that we need somebody that's able to make sure that they can lay out a strategic vision and then follow through with it. That's what the Navy is about, projecting strategic power through keeping sea lanes open. And I have the utmost confidence that our incoming secretary is going to be able to do just that, because he understands that in order to get things done, you have to be able to put something above yourself. He's done that in the private sector, putting the company and the welfare of the stockholders above himself. And he's going to be able to do that as the incoming SecNav by putting the United States of America, our well-being, and the well-being of our allies above himself.
Yeah. So let me start by saying I don't agree with Representative Orden at all, other than to say I do think that John Phelan can do a good job. Now, if it has to do with the construction of a boat or something to do with Navy ordinances, he'll have to learn that on the job. But John is very good at organization. He ran a massive organization. But then again, what the hell do I know about what's needed? If it requires having Navy experience in order to be Secretary of the Navy, then he's certainly not the right guy. If it's more of managerial and budgeting and so on, he is exactly that. And he's going to make the right, because look, like I said, I know him. He's a fair-minded, he is an intelligent guy. He is going to do what's right for the Navy, regardless of who tells him what that they want to do and so on. So again, we will see what ends up happening. But I also want to show you a clip of Stephen Miller confirming that Mark Zuckerberg went to Mar-a-Lago in order to, let's just say, bend the knee. Play that clip.
Stephen, real quick, Politico is reporting that Mark Zuckerberg was at Mar-a-Lago today meeting with President Trump. Can you confirm that?
Yes, that's correct. And Mark Zuckerberg has been very clear about his desire to be a supporter of and a participant in this change that we're seeing all around America, all around the world with this reform movement that Donald Trump is leading. Mark Zuckerberg, like so many business leaders, understand that President Trump is an agent of change, an agent of prosperity.
Right.
And so business leaders, CEOs everywhere, they want to be an element, a supporter, a booster of making our economy prosperous, delivering for American workers, and making sure that America is the most powerful, wealthiest, freest nation on the face of the earth. So we'll see what comes of that. And Mark, obviously, he has his own interests, and he has his own company, and he has his own agenda, but he's made clear that he wants to support the national renewal of America under President Trump's leadership.
Good. It's good for the president. He turned the page with some talk show hosts on another channel, and he might be maybe getting over the fact that Zuckerbucks really impacted the 2020 election in the battleground areas. So
Of course, Zuckerberg is going to go there, right? He wants to continue in order to be in the good grace for fear that his business is going to get hammered by Donald Trump and this new administration, as well as, losing market share to others who are and have remained in Trump's camp. Now, look, do you blame Zuckerberg for doing that? I don't. He cares about the profit of his company for his own personal. And the one thing I'm going to agree with Stephen Miller, and I can't believe I'm saying it. Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg went there for his own agenda, plain and simple. Now, I want to show you a clip, for example, of another enormously wealthy guy, Scott Bessent, who's Trump's pick for Treasury Secretary, saying that Trump is the most sophisticated leader that he has ever met in his entire life. Play that clip.
Donald Trump is the most sophisticated leader on economics that I've met. And he's also the most open-minded. So the idea of bringing back tariffs, Alexander Hamilton was the original tariff man. And why did he like tariffs? Two reasons. One, to fund the Treasury. Two, to protect nascent U.S. industries.
Let me just say, that's going to be a problem for this country. It's going to be a problem for Donald Trump. If I was sitting there at the table, I would turn around and I would say, okay, look, you talked about tariffs during the campaign. Don't concentrate on that one. Talk about other things that you've concentrated on that could actually bring you a benefit. Tariffs are going to hurt, as I have explained on other shows, the Michael Cohen show, in other segments. I've explained how tariffs are going to whack the little guy right in the ass. All right. It is 100% not going. 27 of 29 of the top economists in this country have turned around and said this is problematic. In 2017, when Trump, as an example, put a tariff on Canada for aluminum and lumber and so on, what did he end up doing? Almost within a month thereafter, he started handing out waivers. So first you put a tariff and then you give everybody a waiver. So what the hell is the point? It diminishes what he's intending to do. There are 1,000 things that he can do. Tariffs is not the way to go. Now, let me just finish this by turning around and telling you, I want to show you an article because as I've said before, and I've only picked out 2 of the billionaires, there are a dozens of billionaires, from Linda McMahon all the way to let's say, I don't know, who else do they have over there? There's just a dozen billionaires. Howard Lutnick, for example, right? These are all billionaires. Charlie Kushner now, who's going to be the ambassador to France. There's billionaires all over this administration. You know where, and who's right now freaking out over the whole thing? The Democratic billionaires, because they pumped a shit ton of money into Kamala Harris's campaign and they got absolutely nothing for it. You see, the billionaire class, they like to see return. Oh, of course, I forgot about Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, right? I mean, talk about, the guys that are front and center. Democrats want to see some benefit. These Democratic billionaires, they all want to see some sort of return on their investment in. But the Democratic billionaires aren't seeing that, and they're nervous right now. So I want to show you an article as an example that the New York Times put out, which is entitled, right, What's a Democratic Billionaire to Do Now? All right. This is a really interesting article. The party's donor class is still wrestling with Donald Trump's victory, worried about retribution and sluggish liberal energy. Some rich Democrats are even pondering leaving the country. Here's the second part to it. Mr. Hoffman, and let me remind you, he is the founder of LinkedIn, declined to comment through a spokeswoman, has helped to pay for some of the most aggressive private litigation against Donald J. Trump. And he's worried about retribution from a president who has promised to go after his political opponents, including major Democratic donors. Mr. Hoffman's reaction is dramatic, and it's unclear how much moving abroad would protect him or his assets from Mr. Trump's wrath. He is hardly alone in a liberal big money world still stunned by Vice President Kamala Harris's defeat. Now, let me go on and say this. He's not the only one. For example, there's a guy by the name of Seth London, who's an advisor to some of the Democratic Party's biggest donors. He wrote in a private memo that was addressed to, there's a group there, it's called Discouraged Democrats, arguing that the party should begin with a complete rejection of race and group-based identity politics. What they've done is they turned around and they took a look and saw that the things that we Democrats were running on, right, as the Republicans call wokeism and so on, that this isn't working, that people care about gas and groceries. And despite the fact that the economy is doing well, didn't matter. It didn't matter. And one of the other things that he said, Democrats have increasingly focused on the priorities of core party activists over the common voters we claim to represent. Yes, it's something I tried to reach out to Jamie Harrison on. And when I would turn around and say to them, what are you guys doing? What are you doing? Couldn't get in touch with anybody. That's also the difference here. And this is why I turn around and I say, we all just need to take the temperature down. What's going to happen? I don't know. I really don't. Nobody does. All I can say is the following. Some of the things that Donald Trump has said that he intends to do, like what, for example, Reid Hoffman may be concerned about, he has the right to feel that way. He most certainly does. And do I think, as the New York Times wrote, that by running off to another country can stop him? Not unless you run to a country that doesn't have extradition to the United States. There's only a handful of those countries, which I don't think Reid Hoffman intends to live. So you know what? Relax. Calm down. Maybe he won't end up doing that. Maybe there's so much going on right now in this country that needs fixing. Maybe there's so much around the world that needs to be fixed as well, that he'll put all this shit aside and say, you know what? I'm president of the United States, enough. Regardless of what these sycophants, these hanger-ons are going to try to get him to do, maybe he turns around and he says, I actually want to be a president for all Americans. Now, there's a difference between being hopeful and optimistic. But what else can we be? And as always, thanks for listening. Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. I mean, we're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.